at the Tuileries, and it was the same in the other imperial residences. The portion of the palace assigned to the habitation of the sovereign was distributed into the three descriptions of apartments: the apartment of ceremony, the ordinary apartment of the emperor, the ordinary apartment of the empress. The first two only concern us here. The grand apartment of ceremony was reserved for fetes, ceremonies, assemblies, and grand audiences. In the everyday life, it was not made use of. The first room was a concert hall, the Salle des Maréchaux, which, taking up the grand staircase and the grand vestibule, the whole of the central pavilion, formed the communication between the two wings of the palace, that on the left containing in 2 stories the apartments of the emperor and of the empress, and that on the right, in which were situated the hall of the council of state, the theater, and further on, in the pavilion of the Enfants de France, in the facade looking on the Rue de Rivoli, the apartments of the Grand Marshal and of foreign princes. In leaving the Salle de Maréchaux, the first room of the state apartments, one came to a first and second salon, the throne room, and then the salon or state cabinet of the emperor, and finally to the gallery of Diana. The state apartment ceased there. Similarly situated to the gallery of Diana and having its private entrance by a staircase near the pavillon de flore, stretched the appartement ordinaire, itself divided into the appartement d'honneur and the private apartment. The apartment d'honneur consisted of a guard room and of a first and second salon. The private apartments, which were in continuation, comprised the emperor's study, an interior study, where in the morning Napoleon gave audiences, a room which was used as a topographic office, a small bathroom, a bedroom, a dressing room, a wardrobe, and an antechamber. This suite of rooms was repeated by a similar suite in a story above, composed of an antechamber or of a dining room, of a work cabinet, of 2 salons, of a bedroom, of a boudoir, and of a wardrobe. This suite is often called the appartement secret. It was called officially by the name of the Petit Appartement de Sa Majesté. It could only be reached from the inner suite of rooms. To get a clear idea of an arrangement of this kind, which is remarkably difficult to describe, the strangeness of which a plan, however exact, would scarcely explain, the best course, now that the Tuileries are destroyed, is to pay a visit to the small apartments at Versailles, there in those dark corridors where 2 persons can only pass sideways, in those narrow staircases which turn so sharply and must be lighted day and night, in those rooms so small and so low that the head touches the ceiling, these rooms in which Louis XV, Louis XVI, queens, dauphins, princesses, favorites of all descriptions, pass their lives. It is possible to understand what the Tuileries might and must have been. At one of its extremities, as we have seen, the appartement interior was separated from the staircase by the pavillon de flore, by the guard room, which was occupied by the pages on duty and by a sous-officier of the garde cheval. From this opened the first salon, into which entered, of right, the colonel general on duty, the state officers of the crown. In it remained on duty the aide-de-camp of the day, the chamberlain of the day, the prefect, and the equerry on duty. And here we receive persons admitted to an audience or summoned to work with the emperor. It was a salon de service, a second salon communicating on one side with the cabinet of the emperor and on the other with the salon de service, was devoted to audiences. In the doorway of each of the salons stood an usher. At the door of the guard room was a doorkeeper, armed, as a matter of ceremony, with a halberd and sword. At the other extremity of the appartement interior, to the antechamber of which access was gained by passages and staircases leading from the extremity of the gallery of Diana, an usher of extreme trustworthiness kept the door. Within, a keeper of the portfolio, who was a sort of clerk, and a valet de chambre remained at the disposal of the emperor. There was no other guard. In the apartments there was not a single soldier. The only guard which was posted in the interior of the palace, called the guard of the guard room of the state apartments, was in the right wing, beneath the staircase of the salle de conseil d'etat. There was there specially to give the salute, and it was composed of only 20 men. The only sentinel posted inside was under the central pavilion, in which there was a public passage to the court and guarded. There was besides a guard of 41 men at the pavillon de flore, a guard of 20 men at the swing bridge, a guard of 21 horse soldiers furnishing 2 vendettes. At the gate of the carousel, a guard of Senate gendarmes and a guard of 9 pompiers, but none of these 118 soldiers entered the apartments.